else has had enough of you. Yes, you. Just take a second, you should listen to yourself. Everybody is to blame, but no one else is around. Is any of it sinking in and making sense to you? Yes, you. It's true. Is there no means to an end? So tell me, how does it feel to know no one is coming, no one is running when you hit the ground? How does it feel to know that no one's around you? No one will be there when you hit the ground. How does it feel? How does it feel to be alone? Well, now that I got you here and you're all alone, is there anyone you need to call before we move on? Well, is there anybody out there thinking of you? It's true. Of you. Yes, you. I can see the empty look in your eyes, like someone came along, stole your heart and left you to die. Yeah, I know the feeling, cause you did the same things to me. It's true. It's true. Is there a means to the end? So tell me, how does it feel to know no one is coming, no one is running when you hit the ground? About a girl, I'll sing a song. Rickety tickety tin. About a girl, I'll sing a song. Didn't have her family long. Not only did she do them wrong, she did every one of them in. Did every one of them in. One morning in a fit of pique, rickety tickety tin. One morning in a fit of pique, she drowned her father in the creek. The water tasted bad for a week. We had to make do with gin. Had to make do with gin. I mean, my gosh, tequila, you know, gosh, anyway, gin. Her mother, she could never stand rickety tickety tin. Her mother, she could never stand it, so a side night slim she planned. The woman died with a spoon in her hand, and her face in a hideous grin. Her face in a hideous grin. Alright, so who's got a sister? I have a couple of them, and I'm so sorry you had to grow up with me. She set her sister's hair on fire, rickety tickety tin. She set her sister's hair on fire, and as the smoke and flames rose high, danced around the funeral pyre, playing her violin, playing her violin. All right, so just all, for all the people who have brothers out there, yeah, that's right, I'm talking to you, that's right. She weighed her brother down with stones, rickety tickety tin. She weighed her brother down with stones and set him off to Davy Jones. All they ever found were some bones and occasional pieces of skin, occasional pieces of skin. You have to have a little skin in the game, you know, just a little here and there. All right, so who likes babies? Who thinks babies are tasty? Just saying. One day when she had nothing to do, tickety tickety tin. One day when she had nothing to do, she cut her baby brother in two, served him up as an Irish stew. Yummy. And invited the neighbors in. Invited the neighbors in. Tastes just like chicken. And last when the police came by, rickety tickety tin. Last when the police came by, her little Frank she did not deny. To do so she would have told a lie. And lying she knew was a sin. Lying she knew was a sin. Yes, it's not good to sin. My child
tragic tale I won't prolong. Rickety tickety tin, a tragic tale I won't prolong. And if you do not enjoy my song, leave yourself to blame if it's too long. You should never have let me begin, never have let me begin.
Welcome, everybody, to the Witches Hour. I'm your host, Sid Ryder.
And I'm Gigi.
And this is the Lute and Lady, Rebeckah and Samuel Lawson. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello.
To the show, you two. Thank you for coming on and hanging out with us tonight.
Very welcome. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, so, the Lute and Lady. So,
You want to begin on how you got your names?
Love that. What'd you get for it?
All right. Well, yeah. Well, a while back, I studied classical guitar for a long time, and I've always liked Renaissance music. And I decided to buy a lute, and I learned how to play the lutes. And that's like lute, L-U-T-E. It's not L-O-O-T, like grab the lute and run. Although sometimes I frequently grab the lute and run away from people as they're chasing me if I play a song they don't like. But
That is never
anyway, well, it does. We started. So we started talking to Ren fairs.
We wanted to get into Ren fairs for free and be able to be paid. So we thought, well, we're musicians. We should try this. And so we went and actually tried out for what was the Fisher's Ren Fair, and just were like, hey, we'd like to try this. And they're like, yeah, you need to get costumes, and that sounds like a great idea, sure. And it was like for like one of the first years that they had started. So we've been with them from almost the beginning. And so then we went on, and Samuel is a Mason, and we're trying to figure out the name and what we're going to be called. And the Masons, I came and sang Ave Maria for them in their the cathedral at the Scottish Rite Cathedral. And they were like, oh my gosh, you've got to come and help our choir. And it's all these really old guys, these men. And they're like, so I came in because I have a degree in opera, and I came in and tried to help them kind of, make their singing better and make them stand up straight. So I kept telling what to do and pushing on their stomach and showing them how to breathe. And they're like, she's the most pretty drill sergeant in the world. So they started calling me the Lady Rebeckah. Well, and that's kind of where the lady came from.
If you know anything about, the Masons and Scottish Rite and the Shrine, everybody has to have a title. So they gave it, so she's the Lady Rebeckah. So we have the lady and we have the lute.
And so we thought, well, hey, it's the lute. The lute follows the lady, right? So yeah.
I just love what you guys do. I love the songs that you guys perform. I like this whole act that you guys have here. It's really unique. Now, you guys are not the ones that writes these songs. Who writes these songs?
For our Celtic group, we have a lot of songs that we do write, but for this group, we started by doing classical Renaissance music, and then we sat down about 4 years ago and decided to get real serious about it and make a whole stage act together. And a friend of ours sat down and said, you guys would be perfect for Tom Lear. And Tom Lear is from the 1940s, 1950s. He was a scientist, crazy scientist guy who ended up starting to write music, and this just kind of off the wall music that had these beautiful tunes and these crazy lyrics, and he made such a name for himself that he became really famous, and for his music instead of for his science. And so it's really hilarious. He actually was played a lot with Demento. Dr.
His
Demento
music was played on Dr. Demento's show a lot.
Yeah.
And you do have your own original songs. Now, do you also play them with your Celtics and also at Renaissance fairs?
We do, yeah. We use some of our original stuff in the Renaissance stuff, but a lot of it's mostly for our group called Celtic Rain, which we travel a lot around with our Celtic group doing that one. So yeah,
very fun. To be this guy's mind as he's writing these songs, being in the moment what's going through his head, as he's writing this down on paper, just to be in his presence, because you got to think that's a lot of inspiration, that's a
Yeah.
lot of imagination, and that's really a huge talent.
Well, with that
Yeah.
song, he didn't like his family.
Well, it was funny because that's about the same time that like the Munsters started getting really big, and the Addams family started showing up, and there's the other one. There's the Munsters and the Addams family, and there's like one more, and that's also when like the what's her name that had the really hourglass figure that would wear black all the time. Beef would come on. No, but before her, there was another one before her that was real. That was in the 40s. That was really famous, and she would bring it. She would actually, like Elvira does, she would actually start to talk about the horror movies were big, and the science fiction was starting to get really big. So it was in the 40s was actually when all that stuff really started in this country, getting really big. Was that macabre understanding really started in the 40s. So he was right there in his element, right about then.
Man, just to be in that time then, just be in that time period, because that's just really, I just love that time period though. Anyway, maybe I'm just biased.
I know. I think it was kind of like all of the people that just were the rebels of their time that were just like, we are too weird for this world.
Like Ed Gorey too.
Yeah.
The illustrator.
Yeah.
They're like,
Amy who fell down the stairs.
That had a lot to do, hiding yourself. They weren't scared to hide themselves behind a curtain. They came out and hey, we're Gore. We're going to show you. We're
Yes.
going to scare your ass.
I mean, and they're very compared to now, it's very tame, but it's such that crazy amazing innuendo that you don't get, and you're like, oh, that's just quite a bit off color, and you're just like, oh, that was a little shocking, but not so shocking that it like slaps you in the face, but you're just like, oh my, okay, interesting. I've noticed middle schoolers love it. It's hilarious. It's definitely a middle school mindset. Definitely.
I think it's amazing. I think how you guys perform, it's how you guys sell the songs as you guys are doing it. Seeing Samuel, plucking away at that lute, man, that's some talent. And then
A lot of strings.
and you got the chops to go along with it as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of strings to keep track of.
How many strings are there on the lute?
Went from 6 to 15 strings when I went to
Oh,
my
wow.
lute. And but they're in double string courses, so it's sort of like playing a 12-string guitar, but there's 8 courses. It's called an 8-course lute, so the strings are played in pairs most of the time, except for the first one. And it's there's a certain challenge to it, but I think it's worth it.
Is there a reason why the neck is bent like that?
I can sit here like this. No, so there's actually a lot of discussion about this, and like musicologists like get into it. It's like, well, some people will say, well, it was to make the instrument smaller because if you look at how long that headstock is, if that was sticking straight out, it would go way out to here. So it made it a little bit easier to play in groups. But then sometimes some people try to debunk that, and they'll say, no, it's really just to make it easier on the string tension on the neck here, so that the pegs can stay in place and all that. So it's.
I can tell you this: when he's playing his
speculation.
guitar, I don't sit on that side because he usually almost kills me by swinging. So I'm going to go for the first one just because that would hurt.
You've seen the opening scene from Desperado,
Now you say you're classically taught, or you're a teacher on the guitars?
Sure.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
classically taught on guitar. I was classically taught vocally.
Yeah, I did my master's in classical guitar from Butler University here in town.
And mine from Anderson.
Really? Well, you guys good.
And how long have you guys been doing the Renaissance Fair? 4 years, you said?
No. We've been doing Renaissance fairs for about 9 years. Yeah.
Okay.
we got really serious about 4 years ago and started doing. See, about 9 years ago, we started with Indiana Ren Fair. No, actually, it's more like 10. And and then which was Fisher's Ren Fair for a while. Then we were playing at that Ren Fair, and the people from Clayshire Castle's medieval fair, they came to us and said, we're going to start a fair, and we want you to be in it. So we've been with them for about 6 years since they started theirs. So we were just doing those two fairs for a very long time. And then we had some people about 4 or 5 years ago that were like, hey, we want you to come. And about 4 years ago, we got really serious because all these people started asking us to come and play. And we're like, okay, we might want to put something down besides just walking in the lanes and playing music and just, because we need a stage act. Because if we're going to do this many fairs a year, so we start doing a lot of fairy festivals. There's one here in Hendricks County. There's a fairy festival up in Minnestrista, up in Muncie that we do. There's Clayshire Castle's Medieval Fair. All of these are in Indiana, people. The Indiana Ren Fair is here as well. We do all of those. Then we also have done, there's one down, a German medieval fair we've done down south as well. That's going to be splitting into 2 different fairs. And then we do Iowa as well. We've done Iowa, which is the Sleepy Hollow. And then I'm talking to quite a few along the way. And when all of those started just kind of falling in our lap, we were like, okay, we got to sit down and figure this out and get a little more serious with this.
Are you guys, is this how you guys make a living?
We wish it would be the only thing we could do.
The goal.
No, that'd be nice. Celtic Rain plays a lot, our Celtic band, and we play that. That actually does a lot. But then Samuel is also a programmer. But I do the business for our music, so I'm the one who books things, and then I'm the one who publicizes us and puts us out there, and so I do a lot of that stuff. But I also do Mary Kay and I'm a minister, and there's just all sorts of things. So, yeah.
That's another interesting topic we're going to do.
We'll have to get into that later, probably.
Yeah. So,
and you said these are your normal clothing. I love them. I love
every day.
I love it.
What's kind of fun, because we have the Celtic band and we have this fair and this group, and so whenever I buy corsets, I buy nice corsets, like $150 to $200 corsets.
Oh yeah.
And I've gotten to know the people I buy my corsets from, so it's like family. So I'll get a family discount because I wear the stuff and say, hey, you need to go to these people to get this stuff. So I'm like a walking advertisement. We're walking advertisements. His doublet is from them. So the Under the Mushroom, we get all of our stuff from Under the Mushroom most of the time. And it's like, so, but what's really great is I'm like, and there's a tax write-off, and there's a tax write-off. So all our costumes, I'm like, every receipt you have, because I'm just like, this is business, people. So yeah, so I'm just, but it's between the two groups. I'm probably in a corset, and he's probably in a doublet and a kilt. Probably 50 to 75% of our life is probably in those clothing. So
I got a question, since we're women here. Does that corset help with that hourglass figure? I'm curious now. I want to go get one.
So this is, if I took my belt off with all of my ex-husbands, that's about what it does. So that's, it does definitely give you an hourglass no matter what shape you are. Each shape is going to have a little more up top or a little more down bottom, depending on the person. That's really, your body type and how beautiful you are, depending on, on what God gave you and where you're going to want it. But, there's just kind of, you got to remember, everybody is beautiful. So you use what you got and you show it off, have a little fun with it.
That's right.
Within reason. Me being so I don't mind being nude myself, but at the same time, it's very nice.
You're not going to go
an hourglass figure every once in a while. No, Ren fairs don't like you to go nude. It's not really that. There's a lot of children. They frown on that a lot.
I can only imagine. Could you imagine?
There is actually one. Sleepy Hollow does a smoker. No, it's there's a whole. They do a whole Ren Fair that's just for adults, and at night it gets
Oh, right.
it's a Ren Fair after dark.
Oh yeah, I
It's a
remember
little-
that one.
It's raunchy. It gets real raunchy.
I remember that one.
Yeah, so you have to kind of, it's like, okay. And there's a lot of times regular Ren Fairs will have what's called smokers at the end, where you can go and they get a little raunchy too. So, yeah. Usually there's always a pub somewhere at a Ren Fair where the raunchiness happens. And if that's happening, usually a drunken sailor's probably involved
right,
somehow.
yeah.
Now, didn't you say one of the Renaissance is a muddy mess there? Do they do it there? Because I can just imagine the mud fights afterwards.
They don't do the nakedness. But we've called the Indiana Ren Fair has rained every year, especially when it was Fisher's, and I've lost shoes at that fair. So we just wear our galoshes, and it's called we call it the Rain Fair because it's a nasty mess. But they have a pub, and you'll go in there, and it's pretty they get a little raunchy in there, but it's never
in the nicest way.
In the nicest ways. But that's usually where you can go drink your alcohol and then you just wander around the park and hope to God.
And just have fun.
No kids. No, we did play. Celtic Rain actually played a Viking festival, and that place was crazy because it was in Michigan, and you could smoke pot and drink.
Oh boy.
And they just left their kids outside the bar. We're like, this is a accident waiting to happen. Multiple. It was so. We're like, okay, we're just gonna play this gig. Oh my God, nothing bad happened.
Well, they shouldn't bother you. You might just get a bra thrown up on your lute or some kind of, hey, pretty lady Rebecca.
Was a very drunk woman there. Very drunk. And she kept hitting up.
I could probably hang one on each one of these. I got 15 pegs on this thing. I could probably hang a few.
Probably.
Well, I have a couple women throwing some on there now.
I do. It's so funny. I walk around with lots of things hanging from my belt because I have all these props that I use during our act. Because he's got the lute, and then I've got all these other things like a whip and a hand and a heart and all these different things. And they're like, when I walk though, so I sway back and forth, and all the stuff just goes jingle, jingle, jingle. So I can't sneak in anywhere. So it's kind of funny.
How is it walking in a crowd like that? Is
There's
your hand on your belt slapping ass?
Yes, there's definitely a 6 feet radius.
Right.
I should probably wear this now. It's very social distanced. Use clothing makes social distancing very easy because people are like, "Whoa, okay."
Social distancing before it became cool.
Yes. Well,
Right.
if I had a hoop, it would be even better. There you go. They're about 6 feet.
A hand flop around slapping asses and unattended.
I know. And I'm always running up to people in kilts and giving them blue ribbons and saying, "Hey, here's a blue ribbon. Come to our show and see why you just won this. Hey, here's a blue ribbon." Do you know why people win blue ribbons?
No.
You don't know? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Have you ever heard the song "The Scotsman"?
No.
No. So at the end of the song, it talks about a man who falls asleep and then he wins a prize at the end. So we should probably do that song for you eventually.
Yes, that sounds nice. And since you brought it up, definitely.
That's one that one's not Tom Lear. That one is so old I don't know actually who wrote that one.
I may have heard it, but I just probably don't remember. I've heard so many songs in my life. I mean, I'm 45 years old, and I've listened to music since I was a child. I've always had this passion for music, and it's always. And I wake up every morning to like new songs in my head for some reason. I don't know why. But when I hear music like what you guys do, that just like really kind of just blows your fucking mind because of the stories that are being told and the way you guys go about it. It gets me excited. So what we're going to do, because I'm ready to hear another song. What I'm getting ready to do is we're going to take a music break, and when we come back, they're going to play another song for us, and we're going to talk about a little bit about their background as well. So we'll be right back, folks.
Listen, everyone, the time will come when all of us say goodbye. Feel that aching in your heart, leaving you broken inside. But we're never really gone, as long as there's a memory in your mind. So now go do the best things in life. Take a bite of this world while you can. Make the most of the rest of your life. Make a ride of this world while you can. Take the ones you love and hold them close, because there is little time. And don't let it break your heart. I know it feels hopeless sometimes, but they're never really gone, as long as there's a memory in your mind. So now go do the best things in life. Take a bite of this world while you can. Make the most of the rest of your life. Make a ride of this world while you can. And hold on to memories. Hold on to every moment to keep them alive. The words
despair. He stumbled on until he could no longer keep his feet. Then he staggered off into the grass to sleep beside the street. Ring ding diddly lie-o, ring ding diddly lie-o. He stumbled off into the grass to sleep beside the street. Later on, two young and lovely lasses happened by. One says to the other, with a twinkle in her eye, "See our sleeping Scotsmen so strong and handsome built. I wonder if it's true what they don't wear beneath the kilt." Woo! Ring ding diddly lie-o, ring ding diddly lie-o. Oh, I wonder if it's true what they don't wear beneath the kilt. They crept up on that sleeping Scotsman, quiet as could be. Lifted up his kilt about an inch so they could see. And there behold, for them to view beneath his footer skirt was nothing but what God had granted breath upon his bird. Woo! Ring ding diddly lie-o, ring ding diddly lie-o. Nothing but what God had granted breath upon his bird. They marveled for a moment, then one said we'd best be gone. Let's leave a present for our friend before we move along. As a gift they left a blue silk ribbon tied into a bow around the bonny star of the Scots Guild lift and show. Woo! Ring ding diddly lie-o, ring ding diddly lie-o. Around the bonny star of the Scots Guild lift and show. The Scotsman woke to nature's call and stumbled toward the trees. Behind the bush he lifts his kilt and cocks at what he sees. And in a startled voice he said as to what's before his eyes, "Laddie, I don't know where you've been, but I see you won first prize." Woo! Ring ding diddly lie-o, ring ding diddly lie-o. Laddie, I don't know where you've been, but I see you won first prize.
Wow.
Sid, do you want to dance now? I mean, that makes me want to get up and dance.
Yeah, I'm just
It's so hard to sit down.
That's what I'm doing.
I'm just
Now you know he won first prize.
Yes.
happy. I'm just so happy hearing that after hearing that. Samuel, you got a good voice, buddy. I loved it. Great job. Yeah. So
when we go out and play, so Rebeckah has this beautiful, this incredibly just sultry lyrical voice that she goes out, and it's just these beautiful, beautiful songs. And then we do the rowdy pub songs, and I get to shout those.
that too. I'm sitting
I'm like,
ready to check.
that's yours. You do that one. That's what I'm like. I've got a lot of words. It's your turn.
Really though, I have heard that song before. Now that you played it, I was like, okay, I remember this song now. So yeah, great job, guys. Great job. I love that song, by the way. So
That was the first for me, and I loved it.
So this part of the show, I want to talk about you guys a little bit. I want to pick the brains of Rebeckah and Samuel for just for a few minutes. Not
Some brains.
I don't have I have a heart and I have a hand, but I don't have brains.
No brains. Damn it.
Lots of my hands too.
Ooh, I have to get some brains.
Damn it.
I need a foot really bad.
So what's interesting about this act is the individuals. Rebeckah, for instance, I've watched a couple of things that you've done on social media, and I noticed that you are a minister. Now, I'm curious of what your views is, because what you guys do, it's kind of twisted a little bit. It's got this unique style to it, and then I hear that you're a minister. How does that work? Explain that to me.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Jesus had a little bit of a warped sense of humor as well. So
Good point.
He wasn't exactly a fitter inner at all. Fitter inner. That's mine. That's mine. I don't know. So I think that God makes us in all shapes and sizes and beautiful understandings, and sometimes gives us warped minds for a reason. And I definitely believe that he did that for me. And I can take things so far. We've tried songs that have like a lot of curse words and things like that, and it just doesn't seem right, and I don't get them out right, and people look at us and they go, oh, that was funny but not right, and whereas other groups can get up there and everybody's just like cursing with them, and we'll like curse with them, but we get up there and try to do them ourselves, and it's just like, and everybody goes, nope, you're the lady, you can't do that. And so it's been really hilarious to watch. They're like, no, you can't be that way. And so there is a line where our friends have said, yeah, that just doesn't work. And because I've tried, I'm like, hey, let's see if I can have fun here, and it works. Because I think there's a thing where society says this is lewd, and then there's a thing where God says, okay, you've gone a little too far, And I think for me, a lot of times, most of the time, what society says is too far, God kind of looks at it and goes, I don't know if that really bothers me that much. And a lot of people are going to get to heaven and realize that there's a lot more people there that they thought just weren't going to be there. And they're going to just be like, hey, well, okay, I guess I was wrong.
I like how you brought that up, that it might be a little bit more crowded than what you think it's going to be.
Yeah, just, and I'm not your normal minister. I'm just not your normal, what people would call a minister. And I never have been. I've never fit a mold. I've never been that person. And what that's done for me is that has attracted to me the kind of people that I minister to, which is normally, frankly, not Christians.
Well, that's interesting too, because don't you have a little bit of a Celtic background as well?
Yes. So yes.
As well too, correct?
Yeah, so Samuel is very much a Druid, and I have I mixed the Druid with the Christian, and because we don't see it as something as different, as more part and parcel, that we could use those two things together to worship the God that we love, and to understand God in a bigger sense than understanding God in such a minor, small situation. That also allows us to be ourselves a lot more and not have so many requirements on us to fit into some mold that society has said we should be. And so we tend to break molds because we're not good at them.
I love that.
So they've never worked for either of us in our life growing up or anything. And so I think once we got to the point where we just decided, hey, we're going to be who we are, we're going to love who we love, and we're going to just go with the calling that has been put on our life, we watched doors open up everywhere. And we watched ourselves become more happy. We watched our marriage get better. And it was just one of these things that you have to come to grips.
That's an interesting Samuel. Now, do you honor God as well, or do you sway more to the Celtic beliefs?
I describe myself as frequently as kind of a soft polytheist, where I think there's a lot of truth in a lot of the stories from all over the world. There's a lot of different ways that I think people over the millennia have learned to cope with being finite beings in an infinite universe. And there's just so many similarities, and I see so many similar stories. Now, I have certain stories that particularly ring true for myself, which is why I still kind of describe myself as Christian, but I'm also a member of ADF, which is Ardoric Fain. It's called Our Druidry. So I practice at their at the wheel of the year, high days kind of thing. So we just had a Beltane observance as well.
Now you meet all kinds of people with the Renaissance and the Viking shows and Celtic. Does anybody else's religion or beliefs ever stand in the way?
It's really theirs, so it's not something that would stand in my way, unless they are telling me to not be me.
Right.
And if that happens, then then it's merely their problem,
Bingo.
not mine.
Um,
We get more problems from other Christians, and frankly, there are some people within the pagan world who have said, who are people are people. People are stupid. It just happens. I'm sorry. And so you've got your legalistic people on this side and your legalistic people on the other as well. And so you'll get people who will look at me because I am a minister and say, well, well, you're this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you really don't know me if you're going to do that to me. Number one. Number two, you don't put me in a box because you don't know that that's what that is. And because without sitting down and talking to me, you don't know what I believe. So what I've noticed with this is until people get to know me, because of the label that I have, which is minister, people do see me sometimes as unapproachable in situations. So I've done a lot in my life to try to tear down that image of myself as unapproachable by putting myself out there a lot and speaking a lot about what I believe and why, but then on the other side saying, let me listen to you and why, and let me show you that I can accept you just as much. I go with him to his Druid meetings. I haven't technically joined, but I participate. We've taken our son. He has, he's gone into those things and said, okay. And when we go up, and me and Samuel and Tyson go up, we say, okay, the spirit that we're calling on is the Holy Spirit, because we can use that in that situation, because it does very much go hand in hand with that. And it's a matter of understanding that maybe I don't have all the answers, but I know what's true for me. But if you're going to get in my face, what I'm probably going to do is walk away.
Right. Well, see, and that's why I asked you, because a lot of people nowadays, they have trouble opening up and letting people know who they really are. And
I don't have that problem.
Right. And just to let other people know, hey, there's no need to hide because you are different. Be who you are.
I've never, and in fact, it was kind of funny in seminary and in ordination, they would always say, I don't know what you're going to do, but it's going to be interesting. And I'd like to see what kind of minister you turn out to be. And I'm like, so do I. Let's see where this takes me. So I'm like, that's going to be interesting.
But at the end of the day, all these religions and all these beliefs, at the end of the day, intertwine. They all have similar stories in a sense. They all have. At the end of the day, they all just, for me, always kind of intertwine. Not all, there's some that don't, of course, but Druidity, Christianity kind of go hand in hand a little bit in my eyes.
Yeah, they do. They are very compatible, extremely compatible.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. It's all about perception and how people want to, how serious they want to take things. And to me, it's about what feels, like you said, what feels good to you, what feels comfortable with you. If it makes you happy, then that's all that really matters. The rest is just opinions.
We've had it took years to get here. Okay, so understand. I come from the South, and I'm a PK. I'm a preacher's kid from the South, who is my dad's very fundamental Christian, and so it took time, me getting away from the bubble and getting into the world and learning and letting some of the stuff that I just grew up with fall away, and learning things for me and understanding my path, and then going through the process of just throwing away the crap. Takes years to be able to get there, but it's worth it.
I have met a lot of the Christian witches, and it absolutely 100% can work. I've seen it work. I know a lot of people like to think it's impossible. It's hypocrisy, and it's not. It's not. If they choose to have Jesus as their deity, that's on them, or a God. And there's so many figures. We just had this conversation on our last episode. There's so many figures in the Holy Bible that can be honored as deities that people say no, it can't because it's witchcraft and it's all hypocrites. It's not. It's not. Not
You know, there's no wrong way to follow your heart. Just follow your heart. You know you're going on the right path then.
Do you guys know that actual witchcraft is just manipulation? So the word witchcraft actually means manipulation in the Bible. So when they when King James decided to, hey, let's translate this, he actually had a thing where he didn't like women a lot, and so that's why I don't really use the King James Version very often. And so he put in there quite a few things. And when he meant witchcraft, it was something to go against women and to work against them. So there's a lot of those scriptures that if you look back to the original, it's actually talking about manipulation. It's not talking about the form of witchcraft that we understand. And it's been so warped, that understanding, that it really has hurt us as a society.
Yes. I agree with you.
Now I'm preaching. See, you see, this is where the pastor preacher comes out.
I'm glad because it's when you're around people who's like-minded, it's nice to be around people who kind of think, because in this community there you have to be one or the other, and I'm a firm believer that you do not have to be one. There's no reason in the world. If God made you, he made you just specifically for you, and he knows that what you're going to do, right? He knows what
I've gotten attacked on both sides.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so and every single time you deal with it in the same way. You say, well, I'm very sorry you believe that, but this is how I believe, and thank you so much for being my friend. And if they don't want you, they'll walk away, and it's their loss. And that's how you have to deal with it.
It takes real balls to be, and it takes real balls to
stand up and tell them
in this kind of type of community. And I commend you for honoring yourself enough to stand up for what you believe in. Because I've taken a lot of slack just for defending people who say that they are witch. And when I first started Heathen TV, I had a show that had a Christian witch on it. And she would go through go through what she went through in her normal life, being a Christian, being a witch, and how she incorporated the two together. I'm a firm believer that you can't. I have a Christian background myself.
Yeah.
Majority of us do.
Well, usually because we're always looking for some place to fit in. So where do? We go to the church. Because that's what society has you learning. Go to a church to fit in with these people. And then once you leave there, you find yourself. But, a lot of which I've talked to, they've got a Christian background until they finally found themselves.
I just found it very interesting, and I'll always do. I just wanted to pick your brain to what your thoughts was behind it. What is it that you do, type of thing, and how you incorporate the two, Celtic and Christianity, together. I find it interesting.
I think with us, we do the high holy days for sure when we're doing the worship stuff. With me, I do my sermons, and we go to I go and preach in different places depending on where I'm preaching that Sunday, and you have to be, like Paul said, you have to be all things to all people in the moment. And so you understand that if I'm in this setting, I may or may not talk about this as much, or I'm going to talk about this more over here. But with my own faith, I can, especially like at a Ren fair, they have all these stones everywhere. There's usually at least one person who's selling stones somewhere. Okay, and at a Ren fair, it's just going to happen.
Getting stones.
Or you're and so I can put it. Usually it's this hand right here, and I can put it there, and I can sit there and I can feel that energy that's flowing through everything that God put in everything. And so for me, that understanding of that energy that flows through everything is very druidic, but it is very God, because because it says in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and he created all, and all came from him. And it was like, okay, that means that every essence that is within anything is everything, and is within me as well. And so that should flow through me. When I do, I have, since I was probably 3, spoken in tongues and done prophecies. I since I was 5, I was laying on hands and healing people. These things are not foreign to me because I grew up doing them. And so it was not that hard then to incorporate under the understanding of grounding, the understanding of I'm in a manic mood right now because I haven't been able to go outside. I don't care how cold it is. I'm taking a minute and sticking my feet in the dirt, because that's going to help me. Knowing that water is a conduit for me. So I can't get to water, I got a bathtub. There are things I know for myself that heal me, that help heal others. And in that understanding, I can then maybe help others to learn that as well. But I have to be able to be grounded to do that. And so understanding that nature piece for me is a big piece.
You're just taking some of the druid tools, the ground, stuff like that, just incorporating it. You're just
pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
And that could be, and that could just be for anybody. It don't have to be from the Druidic path. These are things you can do for yourself to help ground yourself, help center yourself, learn how to channel some of that energy in different directions. They're just tools. At the end of the day, they're just tools.
Tools, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And they're,
instead of the tools you talked about.
That again? I'm so sorry.
I said I use a lot of the tools you talk about. So, we all don't have to believe in the same God or, but we're all using the same thing. There's no need for hate.
We use what we're given, right?
Exactly.
So what we're given is this earth and the things around us. We're given our bodies. We're given the energy that we have inside of us. We're given a spirit and a soul and a mind that is capable of millions of things. And all the other stuff is just theology. It's just stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
It's not something that should get in the way.
Yeah, I'll be on this conversation all day long with you. I could be on this conversation all day long. I'm with you 100% on what you're saying. I think the same way. I do. These are all just, and all the other stuff, it doesn't really matter.
But no, it's fun to talk about, but it shouldn't be the thing that rips us apart.
Yes.
Exactly.
Tools
are tools.
Yeah.
How you use them. Now, what you use them for is important. So, think about what you're using them for. What is your purpose? What is your heart intention? Is it to hurt people or to help people? I mean, that's a huge part of Druidism and Wicca, and that are very commonalities with Christianity, frankly,
That's
and
right.
where are we the same, and where can we find common ground? I'm tired of people thinking they're so different, because they're just not.
They're not. You're right.
You hit a great topic, because we discussed this last time, and for other people to hear this and know that they can talk to a Christian, not necessarily a Christian, but, a minister like you. If we find one around here like you, you're very unique, and that's what makes you you.
Yeah.
I'm here in Indy.
You're a little too far for me.
Where are you at?
I'm in Maryland.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You're a little far, but hey, there's the internet and phones. I'm telling you.
Yes, and if you end up doing a show down here in PA, like I said, hey, I'm right here. I'm going to that one.
There you go.
I'm going to make sure I'm going to hit some of these fairs that's here in Indiana now that I was only thinking there was only one a year. That's it. Just one a year. Just one.
Poor guy.
No, right?
Missing out so much.
There's also the Scottish Society too.
Yeah,
that's every month.
Exactly. There's a Scottish Society of Indianapolis, which we've been members of for almost 16 years. Meets the second Wednesday of every month, and they talk about Scottish stuff. And you wear your Scottish garb and bring something to eat. And everybody eats together, and it's amazing.
I'll go.
I'm telling you, you would have so much fun with us.
Well,
I way closer to the Celtic beliefs did anything at all. And I'm not Scottish. I mean, I have a little bit of. No, I'm not Scottish. I don't think. Maybe
You just have to like Scottish things. That's all.
I do. That's the thing. And I want to rock a kilt.
There you go. Everybody should, because guys' knees are the best.
These old knobby knees.
Oh no,
I got.
I've seen some. There's some interesting ones out there, and then most of the time, there's nothing sexier than.
You're going to show up one Tuesday, and you're going to see Sid there. I told you.
Yeah. No, we do have Scottish games here in Maryland, and took our kids to because I'm Irish. I've got some Scottish in me, and it was great. They didn't have song takers like you there, which would have been phenomenal, but it's a whole different.
You should let me know about that games, because our Celtic band goes and plays a lot at those kind of games.
It's the Cecil County Fair.
Hey, we'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to message that man after. We're
Yeah, we're not going to remember that, Gigi. Come on.
Do what?
Text me.
What was it? Cecil? Cletus?
Cecil.
Cecil.
We're going to go to Cletus County Fair this year.
You're still saying it wrong. It's Cecil County.
I don't think he's gonna make it.
Just like I won't make it to the Indiana one, so I'm sorry I can't see
There you go.
Thanks so much for doing this with us tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for sharing your gifts, your talents, giving us a little piece of who you guys are, sharing with the world this beautiful gift that you guys call the lute and lady, because this really is what you guys do. Really is amazing. I love what you guys do. What's most important I love about you two is what you guys represent, and that's staying true to yourselves. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day, is staying true to you and not what anybody else wants you to be. So thank you once again, Rebeckah and Samuel, for doing this with us tonight, hanging out and sharing your fantastic and beautiful gifts. You guys are going to end the show with a song, correct?
Yeah, we are. So
lovely to meet you, Rebeckah and Samuel, before you started.
Thank you so much. So in our act, I am a Black widow who can't seem to kill her husband, and he's an absent-minded musician who can't seem to die. So he's just not good at dying. So I keep trying to kill him, and by the end of our act, I'm like, it must be true love because he won't die. So this is called Poisoning Pigeons in the Park, and we are going to end with this because this is our true love song. Spring is here, spring is here. Life is Skittles and life is beer. I think the most wonderful time of the year is the spring. I do, don't you? I know you do. 'Cause there's one thing that makes life complete for me and makes every Sunday a treat for me. All the world seems in tune on a spring afternoon when we're poisoning pigeons in the park. On Sunday you'll see my sweetheart and me when we poison the pigeons in the park. When they see us coming, the birdies all try and hide, but they still go for peanuts when we're coated with cyanide. The world seems so bright, everything seems all right when we're poisoning pigeons in the park. La, 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 la.
We've gained notoriety and caused much anxiety in the Audubon societies with our games. They call it impiety and lack of propriety and quite a variety of unpleasant names. But it's not against any religion
That we know of.
to want to dispose of a pigeon
So if Sunday you're free, maybe you'll come with me and we'll poison the pigeons in the park. And maybe we'll do in a squirrel or two. We'll be poison the pigeons in the park. We'll murder them all with laughter and merriment.
Except for the few we take home to experiment.
Oh, I like that. My pulse will be quickening with each drop of strychnine we feed to a pigeon.
It just takes a smidgen
To poison a pigeon in the park. La, 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 la.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Lute and Lady. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. If you guys want to check out any of their music, you can go to Reverb Nation, the Lute, the Lady. You can find them on Facebook, the Lute and the Lady. You can find them on Twitter, the Lute and the Lady. Am I correct? Am I wrong here?
Yeah, whatever I sent you is right.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in this week. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe. Check out their YouTube channel. I think it's called The Lute and the Lady as well. Am I correct or wrong?
We're working on that because if we get 48 more people to like our page, our YouTube channel, we get to change it to The Lute and the Lady. You got to have 100 followers on the YouTube first. So we're
what's
almost there, people.
the name of the channel then?
It's got a number. I gave it to you. You'll have to put it up there.
Okay, well, I'll put a link at the end of the show.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks again once again for
And it
hanging.
will be.
Everybody, live, love, and be free.
Autumn leaves are fading. Another year of my life passing me by. So long I've waited for a taste of the life I thought would be mine. Just show me where to go. This place is all I know. Feeling like a change. I'm sick of watching all the colors fade. And there's so ordinary. I need to get away, 'cause I don't wanna waste another day. So ordinary. Every morning waking, opening my eyes to the longing I feel inside. Watch the hours fading, like the dreams in my mind that withering down with time. Feeling like a change. I'm sick of watching all the colors fade. They're so ordinary. I need to get away, 'cause I don't wanna waste another day. So ordinary. Can't find an open door, crack in the city wall, a way to reach the air outside. Oh, and all the colors fade. The sun